The evacuation list contained 10,000 names, but one child's name had not been lost. It had been removed by hand. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the human rescue ship Mercy Dawn, staring at the screen while a dying alien world burned beneath him. The planet was called Rova. It belonged to the Leary, a quiet gray-skinned people who had never built an empire, never conquered a moon, and never threatened Earth. Their towns were small. Their farms were simple. Their schools were built beside ice canals, where children learned the names of stars from old teachers with tired voices. Now their sky was turning red. A nearby star had begun to collapse. Radiation storms were sweeping through the system. The Galactic Council had ordered a full evacuation before the final flare reached Rova's atmosphere. Every rescue ship had been given a list. Every list was supposed to include every living civilian. But Elias had seen enough disasters to know that the cleanest documents often hid the dirtiest decisions. His first officer, Lieutenant Mara Hale, leaned closer to the display. "Captain, the system says Vel Toma is empty." Elias did not move. Vel Toma was an isolated Leary settlement beyond the northern ice ridge. It was too small to matter to politicians, too far to matter to admirals, too poor to matter to anyone who measured life by supply value. But the old scan on Elias' screen showed life signs. 93 of them. 41 were children. One name blinked in red. Myra. Age 7. Status: unrecoverable. Mara searched deeper through the data. Her face changed. "Sir, this record was changed 12 minutes ago." The bridge went still. 12 minutes ago, Vel Toma had been marked active. 12 minutes ago, Myra had been listed for rescue. Then someone inside the council network erased her name first, and the whole village became easier to abandon. Elias looked through the forward window. Far below, clouds twisted around Rova like smoke around a lantern. Lightning flashed violet across the northern pole. "How long before radiation reaches Vel Toma?" he asked. Mara swallowed. "Less than 2 hours. And the council knows they are alive." No one answered. That was answer enough. A transmission arrived from Evacuation Command. All vessels were ordered to depart orbit immediately. No ships were permitted to enter the northern storm zone. Any remaining civilians were now classified as unrecoverable. There was that word again, unrecoverable, a word that made cowardice sound professional. Elias opened the shipwide channel. "All departments prepare for emergency polar descent." Mara turned sharply. "Captain, that is a direct violation of council order." Elias looked at the child's erased name. "No," he said quietly. "The violation already happened." The Mercy Dawn turned away from the evacuation convoy. Behind them, thousands of rescued lives filled the ship's decks. Ahead of them, 41 children waited under a burning sky. And somewhere in the council system, someone believed one erased child would never be noticed. They had forgotten something important. Humanity had built machines to cross stars, but it had also carried something older than machines: the refusal to leave a child behind. Vel Toma had not heard a rescue signal in 6 hours. The village sat in a frozen valley between blue cliffs that rose like broken walls. In peaceful seasons, the ice reflected the stars so clearly that Leary children joked they lived between two skies. Now one sky was gone. The upper clouds burned red. The wind carried ash from the south. The village power towers flickered. Inside the school, 41 children sat in a circle while the adults tried to keep their voices calm. Myra sat near the window with her younger brother Tavi sleeping against her shoulder. Her red scarf was wrapped tightly around both of them. It had belonged to their mother, and Myra held it the way some people hold a prayer. A teacher told the children that rescue ships were coming. No child believed him completely. Children know when adults are using soft words to cover fear. Tavi opened his eyes. "Did they forget us?" he whispered. Myra looked at the empty sky. She wanted to say no. Instead, she said, "Maybe someone is still looking." Above the storm, the Mercy Dawn entered forbidden airspace. The ship shook violently as ice particles slammed into its shields. Radiation alarms screamed across the bridge. The forward window turned white. Modern navigation failed in seconds. "Visuals gone," Mara said. "Switch to ground echo," Elias ordered. "Distorted, then use the old mining beacons." Mara hesitated. "Those systems are outdated." Elias kept his eyes on the storm. Outdated does not mean useless. Chief Engineer Tomas Wren came over the channel. "Captain, the old receivers still work, but barely. Barely is enough." Vel Toma had once been a mining village. Long before modern rescue networks, the Leary had buried low-frequency beacons beneath the ice to guide supply crawlers through storms. Most ships could no longer hear them. The Mercy Dawn could. Elias had refused to remove older systems from his ship because he believed a rescue vessel should understand old worlds, poor worlds, and forgotten worlds. The bridge filled with a slow pulse. Thump, thump, thump. A valley appeared on the map. Then a school, then life signs. Mara breathed out. "They're alive. Landing zone, too small. Then we make it larger." The Mercy Dawn descended like a wounded mountain. Its lower engines fired sideways, blasting snow and broken ice away from the school courtyard. Heat rolled across the ground. The ship's landing legs extended with a deep metallic groan. Inside the school, Myra heard a sound bigger than thunder. She ran to the window. Through the red storm, a human rescue ship appeared with white lights burning beneath its hull. For 1 second, no one moved. Then the rear ramp opened. Human rescuers stepped into the storm carrying thermal blankets, child harnesses, and medical packs. At their front stood Captain Elias Ward. He raised one gloved hand toward the school. The first children began to run. Then Mara's voice cracked through Elias' helmet. "Captain, Council enforcement ships just entered the atmosphere." Elias looked up. 3 silver cutters dropped through the clouds. They had not come to rescue Vel Toma. They had come to stop him. The rescue should have taken 6 minutes. It took 18. The storm turned every step into a fight. Ice cracked under the villagers' feet. Wind dragged at the children. Human crew members formed a chain from the school doors to the ship's ramp, passing the smallest Leary children from one pair of arms to the next. Elias stood at the ramp and counted each child himself, not by number, by face. A boy with a cracked breathing mask, a girl holding a broken school tablet, 2 twins wrapped in the same blanket. Then Myra came last, pulling Tavi through the wind. She stopped in front of Elias. "You came for us?" she asked. Elias lowered himself to one knee so she could see his face through the helmet glass. "Yes." "Why?" Behind him, alarms flashed red. Above him, council cutters moved into firing position. Around him, radiation climbed by the second. He could have spoken about duty, law, honor, or earth. Instead, he gave her the only answer that mattered. "Because you were there." Myra looked at him for one long second. Then she stepped aboard. The ramp sealed behind her. Only after Mara confirmed that no civilian remained outside did Elias return to the bridge. The council commander appeared on the main screen. His uniform was spotless. His voice was calm. That made him more dangerous. "Human vessel Mercy Dawn, you are carrying unauthorized passengers. Release them and return to the approved corridor." Mara whispered, "Unauthorized passengers." Elias sat in his command chair. 93 rescued, he asked. "All aboard," Mara replied. 41 children. The council commander continued. "Captain Ward, those civilians were classified unrecoverable. Your interference has endangered the wider evacuation." Elias looked at him. "Who changed the list?" "That information is sealed." "Not anymore." The commander's eyes narrowed. "You will surrender the unauthorized passengers." "No, if you refuse, your ship will be disabled." The bridge crew went quiet. The Mercy Dawn was not a warship. It was heavy with evacuees. Its shields were burned thin. Its engines were strained from the polar descent. The council cutters were faster, sharper, and built to force obedience. Tomas spoke from engineering. "Captain, we cannot outrun them in open sky." Elias studied the valley map. Old mining trenches ran beneath the ice ridge, too narrow for military cutters. almost too narrow for the Mercy Dawn. Almost. We won't outrun them, Elias said. We'll take a path they are too proud to enter. Mara stared at the route. That trench is not a flight corridor. No, Elias said, it is a test of trust. In what? Our ship, our crew, and every bolt Tomas keeps complaining about. Tomas gave a dry reply. For the record, Captain, I complain because the bolts are usually important. Then keep them important. The Mercy Dawn lifted from Vel Toma as the village disappeared behind snow and fire. Above, the enforcement cutters armed their iron cannons. Below, the frozen trench opened like a wound through the mountains. Elias gave the order, "Take us down." The Mercy Dawn dropped into the ice trench. The walls rushed past close enough to reflect the bridge lights. The ship scraped hard against the left cliff. Metal screamed through the hull. In the refugee decks, humans and Leary held each other as the floor shook under their feet. "Left stabilizer damaged," Mara said. "Balance with lower thrusters," Elias replied. "Lower thrusters overheating." Tomas cut in. "I'm routing heat through the cargo exchangers. It will warm the lower decks but stress the pipes." "Will they hold?" "They will if nobody asks them politely." Elias almost smiled. "Then do not ask." The council cutters stayed above the trench. They were too sleek to follow, so they fired into the cliffs ahead, trying to collapse the route. The first blast shattered an ice wall. A mountain of frozen stone dropped into the path. "Impact in 12 seconds, Mara said. Elias watched the falling mass. "Forward shields into narrow cone. That exposes our sides. We only need the front." The shield changed shape. Not a bubble, a spear. The Mercy Dawn drove straight into the collapsing ice. The impact threw crew members against their straps. Lights failed across half the bridge. In the medical bay, children screamed as darkness swallowed the room. Then the emergency lamps came on. The ship broke through, still moving, still alive. Ahead, the trench rose toward the mountain shelf. Beyond that shelf was the upper storm layer, then open space, then the human convoy waiting outside the forbidden zone. The council knew it too. The cutters launched an iron net across the exit path. Blue cables stretched from ridge to ridge, designed to trap the rescue ship and drain its engines. Mara stared at the display. "We cannot break that net." Elias stood. "No, but we can make it catch the wrong thing." He opened engineering. "Tomas, Cargo Bay 3, release the damaged rescue pods." Mara turned. "The empty pods from the southern evacuation. They still have heat cores," Elias said. "They will look like engine signatures." Tomas understood at once. "You want the net to think the pods are us. I want the council to trust its instruments more than its eyes." The damaged pods launched from the rear bay, spinning upward with unstable heat trails. The iron net snapped around them. Blue fire spread across the ridge. For one precious moment, every council sensor believed the Mercy Dawn had been caught, but Elias had already cut the main engines. The rescue ship dropped under the net. Gravity seized it. The mountain floor rushed closer. Mara's voice dropped to a whisper. "We are too low." Elias watched the numbers fall. "Wait, Captain, wait." The ice floor filled the forward glass. Then Elias said, "Full burn." The engines roared. The Mercy Dawn climbed from beneath the ridge with fire pouring from its damaged belly. It broke through the storm layer into clean black space. Stars appeared. Then the human convoy appeared. Dozens of rescue ships turned toward them. The council cutters rose behind the Mercy Dawn, weapons armed, and every human ship moved into formation. They did not fire. They did not threaten. They simply formed a wall of shields, a wall of rescue lights, a wall that told the council one truth without a single word. No child would be handed back. The hearing began before the rescued children had finished their first warm meal. Council officials filled the screens across the Mercy Dawn. Their voices were sharp, polished, and angry. They accused Captain Elias Ward of violating evacuation law, damaging public equipment, risking 10,000 lives, and creating a military standoff during a system disaster. Elias did not stand on a stage. He stood in the medical bay beside the children of Vel Toma. Myra sat near the front with Tavi asleep against her shoulder. Her red scarf was still wrapped around them both. She watched Elias carefully, as if she feared the council might erase him next. The judge leaned toward the screen. "Captain Ward, do you deny entering a forbidden zone?" "No." "Do you deny disobeying evacuation command?" "No." "Do you deny carrying civilians classified as unrecoverable?" Elias looked back at the children. Then he faced the screen again. "I deny that any child can be classified that way." The medical bay went silent. The judge's voice turned cold. "You placed emotion above strategy." Elias lifted the evacuation record. "No. Someone placed convenience above life." He opened the hidden files and sent them to every ship in the convoy. First came the erased name, Myra, age 7, removed manually. Then came the old life sign scan. Vel Toma settlement active. 93 civilians confirmed. Then came the final file. A private council convoy had requested priority departure slots from the northern corridor. To protect those slots, Vel Toma had been marked empty. For the first time, the officials stopped speaking. Elias lowered the record. "You did not make a difficult rescue decision. You hid an abandonment inside a clean word. Unrecoverable." His voice stayed calm. That word almost buried 41 children under ice. The recording spread across the convoy, then across the evacuation fleet, then across the galaxy. By the next day, the truth could not be contained. The northern rescue had been dangerous, but not impossible. The children of Vel Toma had not been lost. They had been sacrificed for convenience. The charges against Elias were withdrawn. The council minister responsible resigned before sunrise, but Elias did not celebrate. He stayed in the medical bay until every child had been checked, fed, and reunited with surviving family. Later, when the ship had grown quiet, Myra found him beside the observation window. Below them, Rova burned in silence. Her village was gone. The school, the ice canals, the lantern hall, the silver grain fields all swallowed by the storm. Myra removed her red scarf and held it out. Elias shook his head gently. "You should keep that." She pushed it into his hand. "You came when the list said no." Elias accepted it with both hands. Years later, that scarf would hang inside the command room of the Mercy Dawn, not as a trophy, as a warning against cold language, a warning against powerful people who turn living souls into numbers, a warning that every list is made by hands, and hands must answer for what they erase. Myra's name was restored to the official evacuation record. Then a new law was written. No civilian settlement could ever again be marked unrecoverable without direct review from an active rescue captain. The council called it the Ward Rule. The Leary called it something simpler, the Child Clause, because one human captain saw a missing name, a burning world, and a child nobody powerful wanted to save. And he decided humanity would not leave without her. Subscribe.